This event is what we call it's the deadliest severe weather outbreak in the history of Western Pennsylvania. It's what we compare all severe weather events to. It was the largest tornado outbreak in Western PA, the deadliest that the Commonwealth has seen. It shows that the tornadoes that happen in Oklahoma and Kansas that we see on television can happen right in our backyards.
So May 31st is kind of like a bullseye for extreme weather events here in Pennsylvania. It's that time of year whenever we get the most moisture coming up from the Gulf with warm air and cold, dry air from Canada meeting. And that is what seeds a lot of the thunderstorms that we see in this time of year.
So pretty much May through early July is what we call our tornado season in Western Pennsylvania. So we had what we call anomalously strong influx of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. We had very strong winds above the ground, strong jet stream, and then we had a cold front approaching from the northwest. On May 31st, back in 1985, all those conditions came together. We might have the strong cold front, but the winds aren't strong. We might have a cold front, but the moisture isn't there, but the winds are there. This day, everything aligned to create a perfect severe weather outbreak. And since in the last 30 years, we haven't seen anything come close to that. The life cycle is a thunderstorm, then the thunderstorm with all the ingredients of the updraft, downdraft, and the rotation becomes what we call a supercell. And then the supercell is the one that produces the tornado. But 98% of all supercells don't produce tornadoes. Yeah, so in a tornado, what you need to have initially is you need to have wind shear. And that's winds that change with height. So when the warm air rises, it has a natural rotation to it. But we also need moisture, but then we also need a trigger mechanism. And usually that comes from the form of a cold front.
There are different grades of tornadoes. A lot of people are familiar with what's called the F scale or the Fujita scale. And that ranks tornadoes from F0, which is the weakest tornado, all the way through F5.
Most of our tornadoes, 95% of our tornadoes in Western Pennsylvania are what we call F0, F1s. They land for about the length of a football field and they come up, and most of the damage is to trees. So the tornadoes that we saw were F3s, F4s, and F5s, and those contain winds, upwards of 200 miles an hour.
Now today we use a slightly different version of that scale called the EF scale, and it really just makes some corrections for the wind speed. So a lot of people hear about microbursts or macrobursts, and they wonder how similar or different it is from a tornado. A tornado always has a vortex, a rotation. A microburst comes from the air straight down and it spreads out in all directions, causing straight line winds that are very, very powerful and can cause similar damage to tornadoes.
Well, when the microbursts come, the winds come down and they fan out. So when damage, we go look at damage surveys, we see trees facing north, west, east, and south. For a tornado, given the counterclockwise rotation, we have trees coming together like an upside down V.
While tornadoes are less likely to form in this area than other parts of the country, they can form anywhere that a thunderstorm happens. So it's always best to have a plan and be prepared in the event that a tornado, as rare as it may be, actually does strike our area. So make sure that you have a safe place to go and that your whole family has a plan.
So a tornado watch, and those are usually sent out 6-8 hours in advance. That means conditions are favorable. Watch out, it could happen. Doesn't mean it will, it could. A tornado warning means either a tornado has been sighted on the ground or radar indicates it. It means it's going to happen. Now it's important to remember that we learned from the past when it comes to weather that whatever happened before can happen again.